Started the stream. Hmm? Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Is she being well taken care of?
Oh.
Sounds about right. Okay, good. All right. So she's at the King David Hotel. We think she's okay.
You good?
Do you want me to have someone take her burner phone?
Oh. I've got, this one's plugged in if you want it. This is a
If she needs
USB-C.
anything, I have many friends and
No?
choices,
Okay.
so, you know,
Thanks.
yeah. So just let me know.
And we're good. We're on.
Okay, she's gonna be fine, and there's not a better place to be stuck than the King David Hotel. So, yeah. Yeah, because everyone's hanging out, it becomes like a little party of like all of your Insta best friends.
Oh, yeah. Like this doesn't match up.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. I'm gonna go to services, and I'm just thinking about you guys. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and
Love
if you
you.
want to look at that show in Ron, it's
Bye.
Corporate Center. Yeah.
It's actually just Clipper Solo, I think.
Alright, can we just double check our A's before we start?
I promise I'll let you know.
Alright, ready?
Who's monitoring the back?
Pepperum.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
הנה הטוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. 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 הנה הטוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome everyone to our Shabbat on this gorgeous Friday night. And we are celebrating the holiness of Shabbat. We're celebrating the plethora of prayer books and Torahs that I have on the bima with me. And we're celebrating that we're all here.
And the date. Don't forget the date.
And today is a special day because we are here on 6/13, which some of you may know has a significant number representation in Jewish tradition because there are 613 commandments that Moses gave to us. That song may be making an appearance later in the service. And so we're celebrating, and it's such a good week to celebrate because first of all, Shabbat comes every week so that we can celebrate. And second of all, because, you know, there's a little bit of stuff going on in the world right now. Just a little bit of stuff. And it is a tenuous and frightening moment, but I like to say that it's also a moment of radical empathy because I now have a whole new understanding of how our people felt in 1948 and in 1967 and in 1973 and in just about every year in between those ones when little things happened that didn't make, the big history book pages and insertions. And to quote a really mediocre movie called First Night, starring Sean Connery. There's a moment where Sean Connery, playing King Arthur, says to his knights, there's a certain kind of peace that can only be found on the other side of war. And I think to the moment when Golda Meir said, I don't know if it was Golda Meir or Abba Eban, I have to check, two of the founders of the State of Israel, said that when someone says they intend to destroy you, you best ought to take them seriously. And Iran has failed all of her nuclear inspections since the nuclear deal came into being. And in just a hot minute, that deal is going to sunset and there will be no more restraints on Iran from enriching uranium and developing nuclear weapons. That is not a reality that the world feels, much of the world feels that we can safely live with. And so Israel is addressing the direct threats to her existential happening with this preemptive strike. And it's not really a preemptive strike because both Hamas and Hezbollah have been attacking Israel for decades on behalf of Iran. And so I don't relish war. I'm not pleased about humanity arriving at this difficult moment. I am praying for the safety of everybody in the region. And when we have a state like Iran that sponsors terrorism, that imprisons women for accidentally showing skin and kills them for being harmed in ways that, because there are children here, I'll let you fill in the details. It is a difficult but necessary moment, and I am proud that Israel is attempting to address this. And of course, there will be condemnation and consternation, but this is an important moment. And so we'll be offering extra prayers for Israel tonight, for all of the world, for peace everywhere, and for, God willing, a better and safer tomorrow. Because I am still a hippie who would like to have the whole world be linked arm in arm and deciding to live peaceably together. And I will never give up on that dream, no matter how often the world tries to offer counterpoints and counter evidence. So I just wanted to bring that moment in so that we can address what is heavy on our hearts before we enter into the sanctity of Shabbat. And so let's all take a nice deep breath in and slowly let it out. That was a good warm-up. Let's do one more. Now, this Shabbat is also special because I believe it was this past week, it might have been the week before, was the 4th anniversary? 5th anniversary of two fabulous people who I got to officiate their wedding, and there was like 5 of us in the room because it was COVID times. And so in honor and celebration of Pride Month and in honor and celebration of the 5th anniversary of Melissa and Miriam, I'm going to invite you two fabulous souls to come to the Bima and light our Shabbat candles. And before we light our Shabbat candles, the last piece of business, I'll remind everyone that the mitzvah of the month this month is the collection of eyeglasses and hearing aids. So if you have eyeglasses or hearing aids that you no longer use or never used, please donate them to the white bin in the lobby of the synagogue so that the Lions Club I can't say this word, Optometric Vision Clinic, I don't know why, will refurbish them and distribute them to our San Diegan neighbors who are in need. And if you have extra cases, you can bring those as well. Yeah. And so Howard, this is your moment. Howard and one other volunteer, please, while we're lighting the candles, start distributing the wine, not the challah, the wine and the juice. And we won't drink the wine until after the blessing. And that is all my public service announcements for the evening. Oh, the starter one isn't lit. My goodness. Do it. Hold it by the silver first and light it. Hold it by the silver. Yeah. We bring the light of Shabbat to us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadliknei shel Shabbat.
Thank you. And we turn to page 5 for our Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu B'Shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon inchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim Kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'b'ratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat
L'chaim. And happy 5th anniversary. And we continue now with Psalms of Welcoming of Shabbat with Shiru Ladonai on page, which one are we singing? Kol Haaretz. We're on page 13.
A, B, A.
I just realized I left the set list on my desk. Sorry.
Second line. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Shiru Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Shiru Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Shiru Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash Shiru Ladonai
continue as we welcome Shabbat on page 20. In case you're new or visiting or don't have this custom in your place, on the last verse, we'll rise and we'll face the doors to say to Shabbat, I'm really ready for you, so please come into my life because it's time to rest.
One, two, three, four.
Shamor וזכור ודיבור אחד ישמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד שמו תפארת ולתפילה לך דודי לקראת קלה Shabbat, לכו בניך, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם, ועשוך סוף מעשה, במחשבה תפילה לך דודי, לקראת קלה. כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת Verse 8 ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי על יד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לך דודי לקראת קלה בואי בשלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמונה, עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה לך דודי. Shabbat,
we've welcomed Shabbat. It's time to welcome each other. I'm going to give you 2 assignments. The first is not to sit until after the next prayer called the Baruch Hu. I'll let you know when it's okay to sit. Unless you want to get extra squats in, then sit at any time. The second assignment is to turn and introduce yourself to your neighbors, say hello, make a new friend, and tell them your favorite Jewish food.
Ooh.
And hello
Your
to everyone
challah.
who's watching from home. We're with you, we feel your love, and we wish you a Shabbat Shalom.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Some matzo ball popsicle. So all the ingredients matzo ball soup, like poured into popsicles in layers.
Ew.
Right. I should.
Ew, no, that has to be served hot.
Exactly. Yeah, but that could maybe be good.
What's your favorite Jewish food?
Ribness.
Ooh, nice call. Okay.
Ribness.
It's so hard to choose.
It is hard to choose. It's like choosing your favorite child. Mine is Rafi.
I can pick one actually.
Ooh, difficult decision between his challah, my matzo ball soup, my mother-in-law's latkes are amazing,
Yeah,
and
Sebastian's
my
latkes.
aunt's what's brisket. Yeah, that's like a whole meal right
I
there.
only ever met one brisket I liked.
Oh yeah?
And John Hirsch of blessed memory just passed away, so I don't think I'll ever have good brisket again.
No.
He probably gave it to me at some point. Gribbinus. Mine is gribbinus. I make it all the time actually. Yeah.
Nice.
A GLT, gribbinus lettuce and tomato. I'm telling you guys, transformational. Can you believe I used to be a vegetarian? We continue with our Baruch Hu on page 28.
Here we go. Instrumental first time through.
Can be seated. I call that Baruch Hu the MASH one because it sounds like the opening theme song. Right? Now everyone's like,
totally
oh, that's
does.
it. Yep. And we continue with our Ma'ariv Arvim prayer on page 30 as we thank God for the incredible beauty of this beautiful universe that we get to live in, the stars, the rotation of the planets, reminding ourselves that the only constancy that we have in this universe is the scheduled changes. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, uvidfuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, Golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom uvein laila. Adonai tzavaot shemo.
El chai v'kayam,
Tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. So in the arc of our prayer services, we're actually telling a story with the order that these prayers come in. We start with the universal and we thank God for existence itself. And then we come to the particular and we thank God for the gift of Torah that gives us our brit, our covenant, gives us our laws to both live by and to wrestle with and reject when necessary. And this beautiful tradition that we have, we are Yisrael, those who struggle, who wrestle with God. We are not Asael, the ones who do what God says. It's an ongoing back and forth conversation, which is part of the very nature and the character of our people. And so when we thank God for this gift of Torah, it's a beautiful reminder that it's not just supposed to be kept inside the ark, looking very lovely and beautiful, all dressed up, but it's supposed to be taken out and wrestled with and engaged with, and especially on this night of 613, when we celebrate, I guess tonight, all 613 commandments.
Torah u'mitzvot.
Yeah. It's a special night to think about how that impacts all of us and to be thankful for this particular covenant that we have. When Jewish tradition talks about being a chosen people, it doesn't mean chosen or elevated above others. It means chosen for this covenant. In fact, Torah itself is the one that tells us that God is known by many names and that God has covenants with many peoples, with anyone who wants to be in covenant with God. We're told as we're wandering through the wilderness for 40 years, don't you touch even a lick of their grass, because that is land I've given to them. And be away from these people over here. They're going through their own stuff. You're not to mess with them. So throughout the wandering of the 40 years, Torah itself tells us that God has made many covenants with many people. And it's just a beautiful reminder. It's okay to celebrate our own chosenness while also recognizing and celebrating the distinctive beauty of others. That is what a multicultural world is, where we can appreciate our own and also appreciate and celebrate others. That, to me, is the heart of what diversity is supposed to be about and what Torah calls me to do. And so as we celebrate that beautiful multiculturalism, that beautiful diversity, let's give extra appreciation tonight for our tradition of being the people who were given a bunch of laws and then encouraged to argue about them. There is nothing more Jewish or Israeli than that. Page 32.
1, 2, 3, 4.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו למדת אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו למדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ומצוותיך לעולם ועד. אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו למדת. אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ומצוותיך לעולם ועד. Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shenkelo Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Page 36. Actually, we're going to read the English tonight on page 37. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am the eternal your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Page 40.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ledar b'kodesh. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ledar b'kodesh. No
They love torturing me with an unresolved chord, and
It's her least
it
favorite.
makes my soul feel like it got left behind in Egypt. After celebrating our liberation, we came to spend our first nights out in the wilderness, and our ancestors began praying a shift in theme from the deliverance that they had been pleading for to now safety, because they are outside of the world that they have ever known. And as we all have been experiencing on so many different existential levels, I think really in the last few years, we know that this world is not as safe as we would like it to be. Not just because of the way that people drive on our roads. Not just because of the fact that I literally watched someone watching television while they were driving on the highway
Oh, wow.
this week. Yeah. but because of the radical disregard and lack of concern that we have for each other, because this world has too many people who feel that vitriol and violence are the pathways to peace, which they never are. And because, unfortunately, we're living through a moment in history when anger is elevated and celebrated, and when we have turned vice into virtue. But the beautiful thing about our tradition, it is old and it is ancient. And I have yet to hear a rabbi say, oh, you know what? The high holidays came around and I have to get out a bunch of whiteout tape because we've figured something out from the list of sins. So we get to erase it out of our prayer books. Mazel tov to us. And so we know that the world has always been a tumultuous and tenuous place. We know that the world has always been filled with dangers, but it has also always been filled with kindness. It has always been filled with love. It has always been filled with altruism. It has always been filled with people who are able to reach past themselves and their own immediate needs to provide care and provision and support for others. And so although sometimes it can feel like the bad stuff is really out blasting the good, that's just because it might be noisier. It doesn't mean it's because it's more pervasive. Goodness persists everywhere, and it is especially in the most difficult of moments that we get to see it shining most brightly. And when the smallest acts of goodness can make the greatest, most profound impact and difference. And so tonight, as we say our Hashkivenu prayer, and we think about the safety of shelter that we ask God to provide over us, let us remember what our tradition teaches, that we are the hands of God. And this is what makes us God's partner. And so as we ask for God's shelter to be spread over us, may we be inspired to realize it is us who spread the shelter over ourselves and each other, inspired by our Jewish traditions that teach us what it is to care about humanity. Page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us daily wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
Page 44 at the bottom of the page.
One, two, three, four.
Yismu b'malchutcha, shomer שבירת שפתה בו בקדשו ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת ישמחו במלכותך בקורא עונג ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת ישמחו במלכותך בקורא עונג חמדת ימים אותו קראת זכר למעשה זכר למעשה בראשית חמדת ימים אותו קראת זכר למעשה זכר למעשה בראשית ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת ישמחו במלכותך בקורא עונג ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת ישמחו במלכותך בקורא עונג.
Now, before anyone accuses us of doing all new music on this Shabbat, I want to ask how many people have heard that melody before. That's right, because your parents or you listened to Kol Beseder on your cassette tapes in your cars in the 80s.
At camp?
And that's how I learned it. So we're bringing the good stuff back.
Bringing it back.
Bringing it back. It's an oldie but a goodie, a classic. And who doesn't love some good Kol Beseder music? One of them became a cantor, one of them became a rabbi, and now they charge like, I don't know, 12,000 or 13,000 for a concert.
18.
So, 18,000
Oh.
for a concert.
That's
We
what
should
you do
all
there.
be so lucky. Wow, I hadn't heard that song for Yismachu in a hot minute, so thank you for bringing it back.
That's my
I
favorite.
love when classics come back around. Let's rise as we enter into our most intimate and sacred conversation with God. We're doing the, so we'll call each other to prayer on page 46, and then we'll enter into silent prayer using the words on the pages or the words in our hearts all the way through page 62, 63. You can have a seat when you're finished, and we'll meet back together in a few minutes.
Adonai, sifatai tiftachu v'hagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lekol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lekol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
In the timeless classic, Steel Magnolias, the mayor of their little parish says to one of her friends, "Well, honey, if you don't have anything nice to say, then come and sit right next to me." It's a charming moment in the film when a woman embraces the art of gossip and Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara is what we call it when we speak with an evil tongue. For some people, this is daily entertainment. It's what reality television is based entirely upon. But for our rabbis, it was the greatest of sins, and their paranoia and anxiety about it leads them to coming to a position where they say you can't talk about anything with anyone that's personal ever. Because the rabbis take the principle of Lashon Hara to such an extreme that they say we might even commit Lashon Hara if we're trying to say something nice. So if someone walks into the sanctuary and I say, "Hey, Sherry, that's a lovely sweater you have on," then people sitting next to Sherry might say, "What, is my sweater not lovely as well, Rabbi? Did I not pass your test of fashionable fashion for Shabbat evening?" And so maybe Sherry was having a bad day and I knew that. And so I wanted to boost her happiness and her warmth a little. But do the people sitting next to her know that? Do they know why I gave Sherry the compliment? No. And so their feelings become hurt. And even by giving a compliment, we might embarrass someone. And the rabbis are so concerned about Lashon Hara because when we embarrass someone, if we cause them to blush, does anyone know what this is akin to in Jewish tradition? Murder. Yeah. If we embarrass someone and make them wish for a moment that they were dead, the rabbis teach it is as though you have killed them.
Wow.
I know, right? So this is why the rabbis say, and it gets to a point in the rabbinic literature and tradition, that we just shouldn't give anyone a compliment. We shouldn't make observations. You shouldn't say anything about anyone. Because even if I say, "Wow, Miriam, you did a really great job leading that prayer tonight," someone will say, "Well, I led the prayer last week and the rabbi didn't tell me I did a great job. So now I'm feeling a complex and I'm going to leave and quit the synagogue and write some hate mail on my way out." And maybe I knew that Miriam had again, a rough week. And so I just wanted to, acknowledge something good. And thus we come to understand, even through the conversation itself, not necessarily what the right path is, because I'm I love giving compliments to people. It's like handing out happy cards. I don't give disingenuous comments and compliments, but I do believe that they can be revolutionary. And as a teacher, it is a tool that I use to help students know when they are on the right track. I will share the story that back in New York, we had a student who struggled a lot with everything, all the time, in every aspect of their life. And one day, as we were getting ready for the Purim play rehearsal, this child walked in, and rather than making a disaster, they just walked in and sat down. And I said, we'll call him Plony. I said, Plony, thank you so much for coming in and going right to your seat and sitting where you're supposed to sit. I really appreciate that. And I saw something I'd never seen before, because I don't know that I'd ever seen Plony do the right thing before. Plony sat up really straight and tall, and his shoulders went back, and he suddenly had pride. He felt good about himself. And my cantor, Lisa Hest, who some of you remember for when she came to be our interim cantor, looked at me and said, "Did you just give him a compliment for sitting down well?" And I said, "Lisa, that might be his most successful moment all year." So I wanted to acknowledge it. And it was a transformational moment, because guess who showed up and sat right in their seat every single week for the rest of the Purim spiel rehearsal? It was Plony. Had a whole transformational attitude because of one positive comment. And we also know that one negative comment can also destroy someone's soul, break someone's heart, and crush someone's spirit. We watched this happen this week in Parshat Beha'alotecha, as Miriam and Aaron engage in a kvetch sesh about their sister-in-law, who they identify by her ethnicity rather than her name, and her relationship to their brother rather than her own personhood. They are speaking disparagingly of her, and so Miriam, who initiates and instigates the conversation, is punished by God with scales and sent to live outside the camp. Because just as she was trying to blind people to the truth of the soul of this woman, her truth is blinded by the scales. And just as she tried to push her outside of their sphere of inclusion, she is removed from the sphere of inclusion. So the punishment that is meted out to Miriam is exactly that which she was doing to this other woman. The rabbis teach us this is a lesson for us to understand and know. The vitriol that we put out in the world, it eventually will come back to us and harm us and hurt us. I want us to reflect on the power, the privilege, and the potential destruction of our words. Right now in San Diego, we are struggling as we move towards our Pride weekend to deal with some great heartache that has happened because of the decision to platform an artist who uses their words and their platform to call for violence against a great percentage of our people. And it has been distressing, to say the least, to so many of us who look forward all year long to Pride, that our Pride board has chosen to platform hate speech rather than platform words of unity. And this has nothing to do with this artist's support for Palestinians or for the people of Gaza. This is specifically about this artist's choice to call for violence and to call for harm. And so we are standing in opposition to that and standing up for our LGBTQIA family and friends to be able to attend Pride with dignity and without dehumanization, without Pride being a part of calling for the harm of so many of us, and without people being told they have to leave a huge percentage of their identity at home in order to pass a purity test for participation. That is what this struggle is about. Nothing more and nothing less. Many of the people who feel now uninvited and disrespected and dehumanized by the Pride Board's decision are themselves activists and quite vocal supporters of the Palestinian plight, of a right and a dream of self-determination, a life of liberty and safety and dignity for those who live in Gaza, for those who live in the West Bank, for all of the people between the river and the sea, all of the people and all of the territories and all of the countries that are there. And the press has represented this issue as a lack of willingness to attend because of being anti-war or pro-Palestinian. No. This is because this artist has called for harm to come to people who identify as Zionist, who support Israel's right to exist, and for whom that is an integral and core part of their Jewish identity, as it has been for so many Jews since our expulsion from our homeland 2,000 years ago. The worst part about this, though, has been seeing the vitriol on social media as people echo the calls for violence, as people dehumanize each other. And it's not just on this issue, it is on a plethora of issues. Some months ago, after the election, a temple member called me to express their grave concern about coming to services because they had voted for someone who many people were expressing online, well, if you voted for this person, I never want to speak to you again. If you voted for this person, you need to think about what a bad person you are. And I know that the people from our synagogue who were posting this anger were not thinking about this temple member. They were thinking about some nameless, faceless mass of human beings who they were angry at. But if they were standing in the room with this temple member, they would never allow such angry words to come out of their mouths. Because we at this synagogue have created a culture which I treasure and I value, of treating each other with respect and dignity and kindness, and discussing our differences of opinion with respect, with dignity, and with kindness, and having intense conversations, but never dehumanizing ones, never alienating ones, and never ones where we tell someone that they are outside the boundaries of what we consider to be acceptable because of a difference of political opinion or a difference of belief in the way that a situation could or should be handled. I share these examples to say it is incumbent on all of us, even as we engage in conversations on social media and in person, to think about the rabbinic caution of the danger of Lashon Hara. It is so easy to fire off a message and to feel the satisfaction of sending our frustration, our anger, our hurt, our guilt, our rage out into the world. But those words and those intentions are received by others, and it does not make the world a better place. It does not make the world a safer place or one that is more kind, compassionate, caring, or understanding. It is incumbent upon us to speak our truths, but to speak them with respect and to listen to those with whom we disagree also with respect so that we can have an actual exchange of ideas. Around 19 years ago, when I was in rabbinic school, I was invited to the home of lifelong dear friends for Passover Seder. And there was a family member of one of the family members of one of the family members at the Seder table. And they shared with me that they could not believe that I was willing to perform a marriage between two men or two women. Rabbi, you're representing Jewish tradition. How could you do such an abomination? And I said, oh, my friend, if we want to talk about abominations, let's have a conversation about it. And I lovingly and gently shared with him the two places in Torah text where it could be interpreted that a man shouldn't lie with a man in the way that one lies with a woman. Sorry, parents, you have a lot to talk about in the car tonight. And why I could reinterpret the word shachav, meaning to lie with, as another word meaning to lie with without permission and aggression, because there are children in the room tonight. So you can all fill it in. Starts with an R and ends with an E. And that I choose to interpret those two verses of Torah as saying you shouldn't do that heinous thing. And Torah just got done listing a whole bunch of other heinous things that you shouldn't do. So it makes sense because there are only two heinous act stories in Torah, and both of them use the verb shachav. So I felt very comfortable asserting that you shouldn't heinous act someone, be they woman, be they man, be they gender nonconforming or gender non-binary. Let's go with any human being or any living creature. Let's go with any living creature. That should never happen to. And he said, well, I don't see how you can justify it. So I walked him again through the examples. And then I said, but let's look at other words that is an abomination. You can't mix wool and linen. It's called shatnez. It's an abomination, and it makes you liable for the death penalty. I'm not joking.
Whoops.
You can't violate the malachim, the laws of Shabbat. That's an abomination. Makes you liable for the death penalty. You cannot mix two kinds of seed when you plant your garden and grow things together. It is an abomination and makes you liable for the death penalty. See, there's a theme here in Torah. And my absolute favorite, which I like to point out, especially to Americans, because these seems to be our national food and our pastime, is you cannot eat treif. That is an abomination that makes you liable for the death penalty. And you also cannot get a tattoo. It is an abomination that makes you liable for the death penalty. So based on these laws, there are a whole bunch of people who are going to have to line up for punishment. But I don't see anyone running around trying to deprive someone of their civil rights because they're having rumaki, right? What was that thing? Bacon wrapped scallops or cheeseburgers, or because they have ink. I think it would eliminate about 3/4 of our population. And we'd be left with very observant Muslims and very observant Jews and some conservative Jews in the middle. And that would pretty much be it. And maybe they'll make peace together and we'll have entered into the sacred holy times of the Messiah. Now, if I had yelled at this man, if I had slammed my hand down and said, how dare you even say these things? You are not worth my time, and if you can't figure out why your words are wrong, I have nothing to say to you. If I were to cancel culture him, the miracle that happened wouldn't have happened, which is what at the end of the conversation, he said, wow, you gave me a lot to think about, and I don't feel as sure about my belief that this is wrong as I did before. And I said, that's a great start. I said, I'll get you the rest of the way to where you can't wait to come and celebrate the weddings with me. But I'll give you some time. This is your wandering through the desert. You have 40 years to get there. True change, true growth happens because we sit and have loving conversations with each other. It doesn't happen because of what Miriam was doing in Parshat Beha'alotecha. It doesn't happen because we choose to trash talk people with whom we are frustrated or people with whom we disagree. It happens because we choose to engage, because we show up for conversations with an intention and an application of respectful discourse and dialogue. This lesson from Torah is needed so desperately right now in our world. And so as we move through this painful season of pride, which we hope to turn joyful, as we move through this painful world of political vitriol and polarization, may we be the change that we want to see in the world by committing to engaging in kind, caring, and compassionate conversation, rather than vitriol and calls for violence. It is the only way forward that will lead to a better world with more bridges and less brokenness. May this be God's will as it is ours. We rise as we turn to page 282, but before we turn to page 282, this is a very extra special Shabbat. You can still rise because I'm going to open the ark. It is a very extra special Shabbat because on this Shabbat, it is the last time when we will be seeing one of our beautiful souls of our congregation here as a civilian, because on Sunday, Preston Lang will be entering his preparation and going to the hotel and then getting pulled in for the Marine Corps. So he has been accepted. Many of you have heard this already, but I'm just going to keep bragging about you from now until eternity. Preston has been accepted into the Marine Corps band, that is an incredible achievement of 1% of 1% on its own.
Extremely prestigious.
And he's going to be going to boot camp right here at MCRD, where his rabbi will get to lead services for him in all of the following weeks. I may or may not slide him some extra challah. We'll take that part of the video out later. And so I wanted to ask us to all join together as we give Preston a blessing of safety, of strength, and as we say in Hebrew, chazak ve'amatz, right? Resolution and courage as he goes into this amazing new part of his life. Other kids are heading to college. You're heading to get yelled at by DIs. But you, Preston, carry within your heart. You just became an Eagle Scout. You carry within you the best of our people, a great example for humanity to follow, and we could not be more proud. So now that I'm crying, it's time for a prayer.
He's got to get a haircut.
All right, come here. It's okay. We'll open it as far as we can. We'll make do. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God keep you protected, safe in your training, in your career, in all the places that you go. Yaher Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom, shalom, shalom. And we say, Keni Hiratzon. May these words be God's will as they are ours. Preston, we are so proud. And in case you didn't hear what I was whispering, you weren't supposed to, but I did pray for him to have an incredibly boring career.
And you can join us in blessing Preston by turning to page 341.
Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Lechi lach on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach. Lechi lach. And I shall make your name great. Lech lecha. And all shall praise your name. Lechi lach, to the place that I will show you. Lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, lechi lach. V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melecha kol haaretz bayom hahu
And Preston, we might ask for your forgiveness for singling you out, but probably not.
Probably not.
We come now to our place of sacred memory as we welcome in the names of those who we have loved and lost. When I read your loved one's name or invite their time of mourning, we'll ask you to stand and to stay standing through our Kaddish Yatom. And although you won't stand yet tonight because we have not had the service, we want to acknowledge that our beloved temple member, who is just one of the most radiant, beautiful souls I have ever known in my life, and one of the strongest, Ruth Weiss, passed away early this morning at 12:30 a.m. And her memorial service will be on Sunday at 10:30 here. I know it's Father's Day, but there's no better way to celebrate it than by celebrating Ruth and being with that wonderful father right there. And so it'll be at 10:30 a.m., followed by a meal of consolation. You'll all get this announcement soon. And Shiva on Monday evening at 7 p.m. also here. And we're happy that you're with us tonight, you guys. If anyone is in Shiva the first week of mourning, we invite you to rise and share your loved one's name. Anyone else? And if anyone is in Shloshim the first 30 days of mourning, as a congregation, we're remembering Vera H. Alcott, sister-in-law of Dana Quitner and wife of Jim Alcott, Dana's brother. And we're remembering Gloria Burney, mother of Barbara Chansey. And if you're in Shana Rishonah, the first year of mourning for a loved one, we invite you to rise and share your loved one's names.
Star Slipback.
Judy Russell. Rabbi Stanley Davids, J. Bishop Don Meisner.
My mother, Charlotte Lackman, she would have been 105 years old today.
Mark Mazel and Evan Clace. And on this Shabbat, we mark the yard sites for Andrew Keyes, Gloria Borer, Leo Siegel, Seymour Farber, Edward Kaitain, Louis Chalkin, Rose Skloot, Joe Whiteson, Sandra Golden, Paul Rosen, Zell Camille, I believe that's supposed to be Zev Camille, Celia Side, Helen Pollock, Beatrice Smith, Daniel Sobers, Bernard Zeven, Florence Brown, Reba Green, Erwin Cantor, Joseph Tonopolsky, Cheryl Barron, Alexander Amber, Rita Gilda Okrent, Deanne Bloom, Mina Feldman, Jack Fisdell, Fred Skiamis, Ann Goldie, Milton Cass, Morris Naiman, Seidel Rostholder, Tilly Sarnoff, Lillian Schaefer, Ronald Smith, Ronald S. Smith, Mary Chernis, David Michael Flessner, Dora Daneman Brill, William Goldstein, Elizabeth Cantor, Rose Lander, Mary Cantor Holtzberg, Paula Wilbert, Steve Forder, Samuel Raboy, Ethel Ellenson, Evelyn Steris, Sidel Lewis Israel, Adele Lederer Levy, Mac Friedman, Barbara Mason, Anna Plasnik, and Marvin Paymer. If there are names to be added or names to be corrected, please share them with us. it's your custom to rise with the mourners, we invite you to do so. Our Kadisha tome is on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma tivarach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'isman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'alam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch sha'ar avlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God console all of us who are bereaved amongst our people, our homeland, and throughout our world, wherever good people mourn. And together we say, Amen. Zichronam livracha, may the memories of the ones that we have loved and lost continue to be a source of blessing and inspiration. And with that, we come to our closing song, which tonight is 613 Commandments. Do we have words? Do we? You just join in. There were 613 commandments that Moses gave to us.
Listen,
Yeah,
remember that?
yeah.
Well, there were 613 commandments that Moses handed to us. As we stood at the foot of the mountain of Sinai, our dear Moses started to fuss. He threw 2 tablets onto the ground, and much to our surprise, the 10 commandments broke into pieces, and we couldn't believe our eyes. Because the Torah to decide to all the Jews, our God decided to write 10 commandments that said the don'ts and do's. Every commandment talked about the way we have to live. When we work or pray, cook or clean, borrow, take or give. 'Cause there were 613 commandments that Moses handed to us. As we stood at the foot of the mountain of Sinai, after Moses started to fuss, he threw 2 tablets onto the ground, and much to our surprise, the 10 commandments broke into pieces, and we couldn't believe our eyes. As we stood at the bottom of the mountain and listened to Moshe, he asked how many wanted the Torah, and a bunch of us said, yeah. Thought about the way life was and the way life ought to be. Without the Torah, we would have been lost and stuck with idolatry, because there were 613 commandments that Moses gave to us. As we stood at the foot of the mountain of Sinai, our dear Moses started to fuss. He threw 2 tablets onto the ground, and much to our surprise, the 10 commandments broke into pieces, and we couldn't believe our eyes. So when it's time to celebrate Chag HaShavuot, we all rejoice, 'cause the Torah is ours to study, teach, and quote. Had we not made a promise to be chosen and to choose, remember that there wouldn't be a people called the Jews, 'cause there were 613 commandments that Moses handed to us. As we stood at the foot of the mountain of Sinai, our dear Moses started to fuss. He threw 2 tablets onto the ground, and much to our surprise, the 10 commandments broke into pieces, and we couldn't believe our eyes. And we couldn't believe our eyes. And we couldn't believe our eyes.
All right, everyone. You've earned your challah. So we'll ask for some volunteers to help hand out the challah. Here it comes. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lecha min haaretz, v'te'avon. Can't decide if it looks like a wave or
Race
a
car.
shoe.
Race car.
Wave, a race car. I think it looks like a tsunami.
Yes.
Tsunami of challah. Chepi, chepi, challah. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Go forth and be nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's. How about the last chorus? Can we take it from pick up to 102? Oh, the one we just did. Pick up to 102. Just play the chorus. All right, here we go. Chorus.
Well, there were 613 commandments that Moses handed to us. As we stood at the foot of the mountain of Sinai, our dear Moses started to fuss. He threw 2 tablets onto the ground, and much to our surprise, the 10 commandments broke into pieces, and we couldn't believe our eyes. And we couldn't believe our eyes. And we couldn't believe our eyes. Oh, you're very kind. Thank you. I am so sorry. I had them, and I don't know what I did with them. They're somewhere.
No, it's been ages. Where you guys been?
Preston?
Cruising around the world doing fun things.
Typical security software did a good job. Somebody hacked our computer and sent out emails to everybody on our contact list, including you.
Yes.
I have one of these for end of September.
Oh, Charlie.
September, yeah.
Charlie.
Downstream saying it was going to be accepted.
I think we should.
Oh, okay, all right.
For dramatic effect, show it with your like either the like training clothes on or like the dress uniform. Yeah,
Too sophisticated. What happened to you guys?
we'll have a full color guard for you.
One thing happened was that everybody got these emails.
Yeah.
It was an invitation. If they clicked on the invitation, they got invited. Who knows how far it went?
It just sends a million emails. Yeah. Probably written by some dork, electrical
14-year-old
engineer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, of course, it came from some kid somewhere. Probably some smart ass Israeli kid. I know we should have said a prayer for Israel tonight, but I didn't have it down, and because we didn't have normal matthias, I was like,
Thank you.
anyway, I'm like, okay, I guess that's next. I guess that's next. Yeah.
And I like the fact that you look at the picture and you know they're I appreciate it. You can have anything. And you post.
Yeah.
12 years.